Hi, this is Alessio Rastani of Leading Trader. Hope you're well. Now, in this video, I want to show you some interesting things on this chart. In particular, I want to show you what this particular indicator you see here, called the delta vortex, what that particular indicator is showing to us in a few moments. Before we go into that though, first of all, I want to mention a few things about what's been happening over the last few days. For example, this interesting surge and pop we had just yesterday. And here's what this particular bar that you see here is saying to us right now. So Bitcoin, as you will see, surged from about the 6,250 range from these lows, and then went all the way as far up as the 6,800 levels, which was the previous resistance levels, right about these previous tops that we formed here. And notice what happened. It got rejected. Okay, so this rally, this little pop we had yesterday, it failed and dropped all over again. What does that say to us? By the way, notice that that very same move that occurred just about a month ago, as you will see here, this rally, the surge, caused a short squeeze. As you will see here, this rally that ensued back in July, tremendous rally. Again, notice the Bitcoin came up to these very same levels, as you will see here. There was a rally, came up to the very same levels that you see yesterday on Wednesday, whereas yesterday's rally failed, the one back in July succeeded in pushing Bitcoin significantly higher. So what does that tell us? Well, for one thing, the folks out there, I know many of you have been saying this to me, that perhaps another short squeeze could push Bitcoin higher, just like before back in July. Well, yes, maybe, but I think that's rather unlikely, because you got to ask yourself, if there was going to be a short squeeze, then why did it not happen yesterday? By the way, for folks who don't know what a short squeeze is, a short squeeze simply means when there's a lot of short sellers in the marketplace and they've got their stop losses in place. They've got stops right above here, and when price moves higher, it puts those short sellers in loss territory. It puts them under pressure, and as a result, they have to exit their trades, and that pushes the price higher, causing a short squeeze. So in other words, a short squeeze puts pressure on the price to go higher. So what we're seeing here, guys, is that yesterday's movement, it failed to produce the short squeeze that many folks out there had been expecting and been hoping for. So what this is telling us are two things. Firstly, that sellers are still in control. In fact, sellers have major control at these areas, which means that any rallies into these levels are more likely to be met with resistance, pushing the price back lower. Okay, so that's the first thing the charts are telling us. The second thing is that there's not enough buying demand. We are not seeing buyers taking control and pushing the price back up. And by the way, that is precisely what happened just about a month ago. Despite the rally higher from the short squeeze, we did not see enough buying participation, enough buying demand to push the price of Bitcoin back up higher. That did not happen. Instead, we saw failure at those levels. So guys, again, the charts are saying to us that despite any buying pressure, despite any push into resistance, we're seeing sellers taking control and pushing the price of Bitcoin back down. However, there is something interesting on my chart, as you will see from this new indicator here, which is called the LT Delta Vortex. This indicator is not available right now, but it should be available by the end of this year. And it's created by a good friend of mine who's a mathematician. He's actually a mathematical genius. And he coded this particular indicator. I have to tell you, I don't know how it's based. I don't know how the indicator works. But from what I know, it uses a computation or mathematical formula based on the VIX. Now, let me just explain what this indicator means and how it works. And now what my friend tells me is that when we see a yellow or orange signal, that's a warning signal. But when it's followed by a blue signal, that has a bullish bias. In other words, it's a long signal. So let me just give you some examples. So as an example, you will see that back in March, we had a yellow warning signal. That doesn't actually mean anything by itself because it has to be followed by a blue signal. And when the yellow is immediately followed by a blue signal, that becomes a bullish signal, a bullish reversal. And you will see, in fact, we had two of them over here. And you can see Bitcoin then quickly reversed direction in a bullish momentum. We had one over here towards the end of January. As you'll see, Bitcoin was dropping. And then we formed a yellow warning signal, an orange warning signal, followed by a blue confirmation signal. And you can see what happened there. Bitcoin then reversed direction and put in a rally immediately afterwards. Now, of course, not every signal is going to work. In fact, it did not work on a number of occasions. So you'll see there are two examples of this when it did not work. For example, when the orange was followed by a blue, then of course we had a little bit of bounce, didn't actually move much further here. And of course over here, when we had orange followed by blue, little bit of a bounce, but not much of a momentum. And of course, no indicator is going to work every single time. Of course, we know this. This is just based on probabilities, as with everything else. Pure probabilities, there are no certainties. But of course, this indicator does work much better when we're in an uptrend. So in an upward trend, the indicator has much better efficacy and power. So for example, as you will see, last year, Bitcoin dropped here, and notice we had a warning signal followed by a blue confirmation signal, and you'll notice immediately afterwards, Bitcoin put in a rally, as you'll see immediately after that signal. We had another signal, as you will see here, also in July of last year. Bitcoin dropped. We had a yellow warning signal followed by the blue confirmation signal right here. Okay, and you'll see that immediately afterwards Bitcoin put in a reversal rally and went higher. And the same thing happened in March of last year. As you'll see, Bitcoin dropped. We had a warning signal followed by a confirmation signal, and then Bitcoin started a rally higher. But of course, these signals tend to have a much higher power and probability when we're in an upward trend. When we're in a downward trend, the probability can be much less. So right now, as we're seeing on the chart of Bitcoin, yes, we do have the yellow, orange, with the blue confirmation signal on the delta vortex. But the only thing is that we're in a strong downward trend, as you can see here in Bitcoin. The pressure is still rather bearish on Bitcoin. So even though we do have a bit of a bullish signal here on the delta vortex, it has a lower probability of it resulting in a major, or should we say, a strong bounce in Bitcoin. Now, why am I showing you this? You're probably wondering, because I've said to you that I'm quite bearish on Bitcoin. In fact, I've mentioned in my recent video that I'm bearish on Bitcoin. So the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to give you all the facts. I want to show you that not everything on my chart is necessarily agreeing with our bearish analysis. And that's what a good trader and, of course, a good market analyst does. You know, a lot of people out there just want to show you the things that agree with their analysis. But what I try to do in my video is to show you as many disagreeing factors as well. So while I remain bearish on the market, and while there's still pressure on Bitcoin, I do want to show you there are certain signals that seem to show in the opposite direction, towards the bullish side. By the way, I just want to mention one more thing, that if Bitcoin was to drop below the lows that it formed about a week ago, just below the lows of 6,000, then this signal on the delta vortex would be negated. In other words, the bullish signal would be falsified. All right, guys, I hope this video helps. And until the next video update, bye for now.